Flexible Fasting course on nutrition.
What you're going to learn in this video is why food quality matters and the risks of ultra-processed foods and why we say 80-20, and 80 meaning anytime food and 20 being sometimes foods.
So that's AKA ultra-processed foods.
Ultra-processed food. Oh, no, it's just sometimes foods, but yeah. But yeah. Keep it below 20%, and you're going to see why, okay?
Yes.
So when we actually look at our caloric intake in the United States, our caloric intake is actually either steady or gone down over the last 20 years.
Right.
And we actually exercise more. We make up.
Exercise has gone up over the last 20 years.
Yep.
In the United States.
Yeah, so we actually move more and we eat less, and our obesity has skyrocketed. So it's not the caloric intake, and it's not our exercise. It's our food quality. This is research and evidence based. Right. So what it has to do with is how processed the food gets. Some processing occurs in almost all of our foods.
Right.
Butter, oil, there's some processes going that you have to actually churn the butter, maybe add a little salt to it. You actually have to press the oil. An apple, that grows in the tree, boom, that's not processed. Most food goes through a little bit of process, and at some point it becomes ultra processed, and that's the issue we have a problem with. So for example, corn, pick it off, sweet corn, eat it, not processed. If you can it, now it has some sodium in it. It has now it has been processed.
Right.
But a corn chip that you can't look at, you can look at a corn coming out of the can and know that it's corn, but you can't look at a corn chip and know how much corn's in it or how much salt's in it or the ingredients. That's ultra processed, and that's where we run into the problem. So it's really ultra processed means it's the farthest from its natural state.
Right.
Basically, you can't look at it and tell what it is.
Right.
They're very high in sugar, added sugar. Usually they're high in added fat, high in added salt, and very low in protein and fiber. Okay, and they require no kitchen prep.
Right. Every kind of ultra-processed food that is a low-quality food requires no kitchen prep. You're just going to go buy it off the shelf and eat it.
Yep. Or you're going to take it out of the box and put it immediately in the oven and pull it out and eat it.
Right. That's very highly processed.
Yep. So your chicken nuggets are highly processed. Your frozen pizzas are highly processed. All those things have no kitchen prep. We eat in the United States 60% of our food. 60% of our food is ultra processed that we eat.
Right. So 60% of the American diet is ultra processed foods.
And that's for adults. And children and teenagers, it's 67%.
Which is even worse.
Which is even worse.
For children and teenagers.
Yes.
What does that say about us?
Okay. Now, what we have found is, we're at 60%, right? When we get to 20% and start to increase past that, we start to see cognitive decline.
So when you have 20% of your diet or more is ultra-processed foods,
it affects your brain.
It affects your brain.
Yep. Every time you increase your ultra-processed food intake by 10%, so we go from 20% to 30%, your increased risk of dementia goes up by 25%. When you go from 20 to 40, you have an increased risk of dementia by 50%.
50%, yeah.
Okay?
50% increase in...
Right. So by the time you get to the normal American diet, where we're eating 60% of our food is ultra-processed, your risk of dementia has gone up over 100%. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but your risk is up 100%. That's bad.
That's really bad. That's an insane amount of risk that you're taking with your brain and your future by eating ultra-processed foods.
Yeah, and that's just your brain. Other things that ultra-processed food's been linked to is being overweight and obesity, heart disease, cancer, irritable bowel syndrome, high blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes. In addition, 90% of the added sugar in our diet comes from ultra-processed foods. Okay?
That's a lot of sugar.
There's a lot of sugar. And so if you add what the risk of just having extra sugar in your diet is, that is increased weight gain, obesity, type 2 diabetes. I'm starting to see a pattern here. High serum triglycerides and high blood cholesterol, high blood pressure, hypertension, stroke, coronary disease, cancer again, and this time we get to add in tooth decay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fun times with extra sugar, huh?
Yeah, isn't that great? In fact, I think if we could decrease the extra sugar in our diet, we could save over 2.5 million lives a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Ultra-processed foods aren't always easy to identify. One of the things that you can do to identify them is look at the ingredient list, which I know nobody likes to look at the label, but it doesn't look at like its natural state. The other thing is look for ingredients that are listed that you don't naturally have or normally have in your kitchen.
Right, that you don't normally use.
Yeah, so like examples are hydrolyzed proteins and soy protein isolate.
Here, we don't cook with that in the kitchen.
Nope.
No.
Extra gluten, casein, and whey protein. You might find whey protein, but you don't really add it to your stuff. Fructose and high fructose corn syrup, maltodextrin, dextrose, and lactose. Okay, I never like, hey, give me some lactose. I got to sprinkle all this on here because,
Gotta add this to your birthday cake.
Yeah, that's right.
Hold on.
Yeah. Whoa, this thing needs some soy protein isolate. You can tell it's missing it. Okay. Other examples are additives that are added to your food, flavor enhancers, colors, emulsifiers like soy lectin, sweeteners like aspartame. Again, you don't have like a big thing of aspartame just sitting in your house.
I really hope you don't.
Yeah, and thickeners, usually thickeners like pectin and starches. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, some things can look like they can be healthy, but quickly become unhealthy. So the yogurts, unsweetened yogurt is with natural bacteria in it. Great. That falls in that.
There's like 2 ingredients, milk and lactobacillus.
Yeah, that's great. Perfect.
Yeah.
But once you add sugar and all those fake fruits and all that kind of stuff, then it becomes from a good yogurt to an ultra processed. Yeah,
colors and
okay.
flavors. And, then it's not good. Then that's highly processed food.
Okay. So as an example, took a group of people, 2 groups of people, and they were going to basically eat ultra processed and regular food for 2 weeks, and then they were going to switch. Okay? And they made sure that the ultra-processed food and the regular foods had the same amount of caloric content and same macro content. Okay? So basically, same calories and macros available to both groups. Whenever they were eating the ultra-processed food, they ate more calories, they ate faster because they couldn't get full, and they put on weight.
Wow.
Whenever they were eating the regular foods, they ate less calories, they ate slower, they got full faster, they felt better, and they lost weight.
Yay!
So this is why we say you don't have to count calories or macros, because when you actually compare them like this with ultra-processed foods, side by side, ultra-processed foods always lose.
Right. Food quality matters.
Yep.
Eating real food, anytime food, matters.
82% of the time. And we know that ultra-processed food exists in the American diet. And we and you know what? We still eat it sometimes too. But we save it for celebrations. And that's when you should have it too. So what we said today was that you need to focus on quality, not calories. Quality, not macros.
Yep.
And if it's far from its natural state, it is not good for you. And you should keep it under 20% or less.
We're going to talk about that more in the next few videos.
Yep. How to approach your week for 80-20.
Yes. Food. And here's the thing with fasting. The more you fast, the more you crave real food, the more you reset your palate. So you'll look forward to those 80%, those anytime meals more often.